I thought I'd do a quick walkabout of the yard just to show what's going on early in spring. First thing you should notice is that we have lots of cats in the yard. I think there are maybe about 10 cats that come and get fed here, and they take care of any rodents or anything that may be coming in from the neighborhood. Over here we got a couple worm bins, some compost in there. You can see all the worms crawling around. I emptied a load of worm compost yesterday, and there was a ton of worms in there. Now back towards the garden. See on the patio we have some sunflowers coming up. Tasty little flowers, but I'll leave them for now. I've also got some purple dead nettle, which a lot of people don't like the taste of. I don't mind. Little square stem, symmetrical, purple flowers, purple dead nettle. Got a bunch of that growing around. Got some flowers popping up over here. In the little flower bed that's next to the patio. And some more popping up over here. They look so cool when they're young. I dug up the sod to kind of expand this garden bed a few days ago with the help from my buddy Graham, and threw the tarp over half of it to see if I could germinate the weed seeds and then smother them, doing like a stale seed bed technique. I'll see how that works. But yeah, up here I'm gonna plant more flowers and pollinating plants, pollinator garden type thing, butterfly garden. So I'm gonna have a lot of flowers, and this is gonna be great when you pull in the driveway and just see a whole bunch of flowers greeting you. Now back to the vegetable garden. I got 3 beds set up and 3 rows. 2 of them are in between the circle beds and one kind of extends off of it. Planted garlic towards the back end of this row last fall, so that should be coming up later this spring, early summer, and should be ready. I've got a little bit of lettuce right here. That was green when I planted it and turned purple, but it seems to be alive, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Got a couple green onions and chives that I had planted up here and that popped up. Got some sage here and in that back bed that survived the winter. And up here I've got some rosemary and thyme that I transplanted earlier this year. And one of the exciting things about the garden, I think, the more exciting things is last year I spawned Stropharia mushroom spawn into the garden. And as you can see, all this white stuff, it has just colonized all the wood chips. This is just a thick mat of colonized wood chips and mycelium, doing super awesome. So I can't wait for some mushrooms to start popping up. And I think you can really see in this bed where it's just going into the soil. Look at that. Oh, that stringy mycelium, mushroomy goodness. So I'm expecting lots of wine cap mushrooms this spring. Hopefully. We'll see how it goes. Actually, this guy popped up in the garden, or not really the garden, but a potted plant that I have inside the house that my landlords have on the first floor. In the front of the house there's kind of a sunroom that they put that pot into for me. And that pot had some myceliated wood chips mulching and keeping the soil dry or wet, keeping the soil wet. And I guess when they watered it and we had a warmer day this spring, it heated up that sunroom and popped up a nice big wine cap mushroom. Unfortunately, didn't get to eat it. So I just put it out here in the garden to compost and release more spores. Back here we got a compost pile, cold composting, and a whole bunch of brown material to add to the compost pile. But I need to get some manure or something green to mix with it because I'm not making enough kitchen waste and kitchen scraps to have enough greens in this compost pile to make that happen. Along here, I planted some pawpaw seedlings, or seeds really, hoping that they'll sprout in the next couple months. Got some Kusa dogwood seeds, and then all these with the straw have seaberry cuttings, or not cuttings, seedlings, grafted seedlings from Whole Systems Design, Ben Falk's business up in Vermont. And I got, I think, one more pawpaw planted in this tall planter. And I got a bunch more apple and pawpaw and Kusa dogwood seeds that I want to plant. But I'm probably going to use this third row here for germinating tree seeds and see how that goes this year. Forgot to mention in the back there I planted some potatoes the other day. Excuse me. So they should be popping up before too long. Got a cold frame that I set up for earlier in the spring. There's nothing in it right now. This fig tree that went unprotected over the winter, but hopefully there's life in the roots and it will be back to life. Got an apple tree back here behind the shed that I pruned earlier in the spring, and it has lots of buds that are starting to open up. Really had to prune a lot back on this tree. It hadn't been pruned in years and years and years and was very overgrown. Down in here, I've got my comfrey in my comfrey tractor. Heard about this idea online. Plant some comfrey in a milk crate and let it grow its roots through the bottom of the milk crate into the soil. And once it grows big enough, you twist the milk crate to break off the roots that have gone into the soil below the milk crate, and move the milk crate somewhere else with the comfrey plant. But those roots that had gone into the soil will grow a new comfrey plant. So basically, I put this thing wherever I want a comfrey plant, leave it there for a couple months, if that, move it, and I got a comfrey plant growing there again. So that's a pretty cool idea. And before I spawned the mushroom mycelium to the annual garden bed back here, I had it colonizing in a burlap sack in a hole that I dug back here. And now this is kind of like my mycelium, I don't know what you would call it, mother culture, where all down in here there's just like a 2-foot hole filled with wood chips that is just a solid mass of mycelium. So should be seeing some mushrooms popping up here in the coming months as well. And anytime I want to spawn some new wood chips with the mycelium, you can just take a couple shovelfuls from there, replace it with some fresh wood chips, and spawn somewhere new. It's pretty easy. So back in this area behind the apple tree is where I'm planting a perennial food forest type planting, where you can see the edge of the annual garden over here, the compost pile, and then out around to the back edge, and then up this way a little bit. Going to dig out all this sod and either sheet mulch or build a hugelkultur bed. Not exactly sure what the plan is yet. I think I want to plant a Juneberry tree kind of back here in the corner. Maybe do some more berries along the back end here. Have some perennial shrubs and herbs in this area up here. And basically have kind of a food forest planting that this apple tree can become a part of when all this is filled in with perennial crops. So I'm excited to get going on that. Up here along the side of the yard, we've got lots of weeds growing in this area next to this fence, many of them edible. There's some dandelions, some burdock, or wide leaf, broadleaf dock. What else do we got? Not much else that I recognize right now. I did have some violets starting to pop up back there behind the shed, where the perennial garden is going to go. And I think that's pretty much it. So that's it for the spring update of my backyard. Peace out.